So you're saying the ultimate would be your 45, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, it would be 45.
Because it gives you an even number up front and back.
Right, it just, as you're developing, especially on a half-acre lot, which is a good-sized lot in this area, most people want a little more space in their backyard, in their front yard. The majority of these are pushing closer to 180 to 200 on their depths, depending on which lot and where they're at. By the time we get 115 feet wide, as per our ordinance that we discussed, that we need to actually, that's our distance on the depth there, is about that 180 to 200, vary on per lot. And so the goal is to have a little bit bigger backyards, keep the kids and everybody in the backyard instead of playing in the front yard that has 60, almost 90 feet of grass. So, but as of tonight, we'd really at least move forward on the 55 to 65, but have you reconsider and look at the possibility of moving forward of 45 to the 65.
How many lots do you have like this?
Probably a dozen.
That are these half-acre in a cul-de-sac?
No, they're on corner lots.
With a half-acre corner lot where they can put them either direction?
Yeah. So there's probably 8 or 10 of them. But again, with that, it's also, even these other lots, as we compare to other cities, we talked to other cities, and they're, even on their big 1 acre lots, their minimums are up to that 45. But we're already back from, at 55, that'll make us 25 feet back from what a regular city setback is. We understand the safety of things, and that's the reason for the setbacks, but the easements. But we feel like that 45 feet would be sufficient.
So my biggest concern is if you have a house that sits back at 65 feet and the next person moves up to 45 feet, you're, okay.
Backyard and front yard.
Front yard, yeah, front yard. So I did an aerial, well, I had Michael do an aerial shot from Google Earth on where you used to live, over in Rimrock and October Cove. And there's some houses that are 10 feet back and some that are in line. In 10 feet, you're okay, so if you have one house here, your back line is almost the center of the house if it's 10 feet back. Depending on the size of the house, but according to this map. So if you go 20 feet, then the front of your neighbor's house would be at the back corner of your house. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I don't have I guess personally I don't have a problem if we say 45 on cul-de-sac lots or something, but if you're driving down a road, you don't want houses all over the place.
So and I'm asking this, is that your opinion or is that the community's opinion?
Well,
because I've talked to other contractors that weren't able to make it tonight, and they said they'd like to rather have a little bit of a variance moving back and forward.
well,
So.
contractors are going to tell you anything they want you to hear. So I haven't gone out and asked the public. All I'm saying is, if you go down there, there's a house that sits back behind, and I know this because I used to live in there, that sits back behind kind of by the well, and they literally look in the back window of their neighbor, and they hate it. So.
Because there's a 20 feet?
Well, theirs is in a cul-de-sac, so theirs is a little more, it's probably 40 feet, because it sits back on the
It sits
cul-de-sac.
back in the cul-de-sac.
So a 20 foot, if you have, and it depends on the size of the house, but if you have a house that's 40 feet and you move it back so you've got 20 feet, then you're going to be, I guess in my mind, and I'm not saying I'm right, I'm just throwing this out there. In my mind, if you drive down the road, you're going to have houses everywhere with no rhyme or reason. In your subdivision, do you want a rhyme or reason, I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't think so. I think it'd be just fine. I guess I look at, so I go out here to the River Bend, is that the subdivision out here?
Yeah.
As you go out there, and they're acre lots, which some of ours are acre. They've got 2 or 3 homes on the left side by the river, they wanna be close to the river, so they're actually quite a bit further back behind the home next to them. One's probably close to 100 feet off, a good 100 feet off the road, and the other one's 40. And so I guess part of that is as neighbors, it's their personal preference of what they want. I look at it as some people, the majority of them are gonna have the minimum setback because of building cost, as all the costs are going up right now. And so minimum setback, you know, they go at 45, and then if someone goes, I want a big, nice, round, circular driveway to kind of get in and do some stuff, and do a little more decorative yard. And I look at it, if someone's gonna do a little bit nice decorative yard, I wouldn't have concern with it. But you're right, there's some that may not want that. We look at 10 feet, we actually kind of, Heath and I were kind of looking at footages. Okay, what is 10, what is 20? You know, the front row here is just a shade under 10 feet. There's that variance there versus 20 feet. I understand the 50, 60 feet difference because you will be literally in the backyard. But these are gonna be 1,600 square foot homes minimum, and you're not gonna find anything under than about 35, 36 feet in depth. Probably majority of them 40, as I talked to the contractor, most of them are about anywhere from 42 to 50. And so you're gonna be pretty much centered if you even drop it at 10. Now, majority of them are gonna stay at the minimum because of the building cost. And that's what I guess we're looking at as that letter that we worked together on that work meeting was, or as we put a letter together that as long as they're within 10 feet of the next door neighbor, then we could go that 45, 65. And that was not going to be controlled by the planning, or the building inspector, and that was encouraged for us as put our ordinances, or our CCNRs, and to work that with the homeowners and make sure that no one's building within that variance of 10 feet.
So that's why it was done at the 20 feet difference, is because it was written in the CCNRs. That's what I'm saying.
That was requested that we write that. It's not right now because we haven't had it approved yet. And then we understand the minimum setbacks are required by the city. So we have our front setbacks, our side setbacks, and our rear setbacks. We do want some control of making sure they're not overly depth and stuff, but I guess we look at when someone owns a piece of property, can we tell them how deep they can go on a maximum setback on their own property? I understand the minimum for safety, for utilities being moved and so forth, but I guess that's a question that I bring up, just can the city or can we, as a building code or a building committee, say, okay, we know you bought this deep lot, it's an acre deep, but you can only go maximum at this point. So we wrote that in there originally when we started this, we just asked for a setback at 75 feet. And as that conversation carried on, we said, okay, it's got to be right at 75. And we said, well, we need to have some variance. We don't want one straight line going down. And that's when that 10-foot kind of came in that conversation. And so we moved forward on that. But I guess that would kind of be our question is it more of a personal preference that we like that, you know, not the variance, but yet we live in a time when there a little bit of a difference makes other things pop. And so I guess we're looking at that as that a 20-foot would be sufficient as well. I don't know how anywhere from a 10 to a 20 would make a big difference off that offset. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a couple of quick comments. So out there at the one, I don't know what it's called, River Bend?
Yes.
Okay, you brought up. Okay, so that is in the city limits of Shelley. Did you know that?
I did not.
I didn't know that until I've had 7 phone calls on that.
What?
Yeah, because
Which
their
one?
sewer's not, the one out at the river that's not in the city
River
limits.
Bend Estates.
So I've had 7 different people call me because of sewer issues with their sewer, that's their own personal
So
sewer,
it'd be septic.
or somebody's house sits back too far behind theirs. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with the city. That has nothing. So that's kind of where I'm basing part of this off of.
Okay.
Then the other issue is I'm okay with 45 feet, but in the Grover addition, when Boyd Grover was alive, he made sure everybody followed his CCNRs. As soon as Boyd was to the point he couldn't do that anymore, did you know there was no more CCNRs? Now, the whole thing had been built out, so by the second owner, nobody knows there's a CCNR that goes with that. So if you get it all built out while you guys are still in control, then it's easy for you to control the 10 feet.
Right.
If you don't get it all built out, then who controls that?
Well, we propose not to have a limit on the max setback is what we propose, but again, we'd like to work that with the city, what you recommend. Just for the fact that there might be someone that wants a deeper driveway than somebody else and a big long circle driveway.
Can I chime in, do I need to?
You can, but yeah, just when it's your turn, we'll go one at a time.
You can ask questions.
Council, I mean, if you guys got comments, that's my only thing. I've had enough people call and complain about a few houses out along the river that sit back too far.
Understand
And-
that.
Well, my only concern with this is our whole desire in this thing was to create a country feel. The feel was to keep homes off the street, to have them back. These are estates. We want them far enough back that if someone wants to put a curved driveway through, they could, in addition to a driveway to their garage. And I think setting the home so that there's no offset looks weird, and I think it undermines values of properties. I mean, you take one of the homes out there in Riverbend that sits back by the river, literally can look in the back windows of the house in front of it, and that's just, it doesn't look good. I don't know anywhere where it does look good. You look in any really high-class rural residential development, there's some conformity to the homes being offset, whether it's 10 or 20 feet. You know, I don't think 20 feet's a killer, but I think anything more than that would be, or could be. And I know people want to have their own personal styles and everything else, but I think there has to be some conformity just because the area that you're in, it looks better when there's homes that are set off, not completely different. I mean, if we were in a rolling terrain where we had acreage lots, I could see putting a home. But we're not, you're not that big of a lot. I mean, when your lot lines are what, 120? Basically, doing that, you're gonna run into that problem where it's gonna look like at Riverbend. I just don't think it looks appropriate.
And I agree, I think.
There's
sitting
3 here in
back-
Riverbend, Sue's pulled it out.
Sitting back that far, I wouldn't want somebody looking in my backyard, I wouldn't. And that's my opinion. I think, however, I guess I look at it, if someone buys the property, it's their property, can they do those max, what they need to be? I would look at 20 feet would be sufficient for a difference to me instead of 10. But, and that was kind of, I think, we missed a meeting, and in that meeting, there was some stuff brought up, and Leif and I had met, and Leif said, you know, what's some stuff that I wasn't listening as we met, to what he was trying to direct, and I was trying to direct one way, and he was directing another. And
Off
so
of the center of the
try-
road and then right away.
Yep, so we were trying to work through those items.
Right.
But part of it is just what distance can we have between something? And so trying to work through what that income might be, would be something we just, again, present to you as if it's something that we can work towards, but if not, then we understand.
Oh, I just have, I have a problem with that. Unlimited offset, allow someone to offset something, I think would look weird. And personally, I think would undermine the character of the neighborhood, but that's just my personal opinion.
Are you talking about having a maximum setback?
And just allowing maximum setback to whatever.
Or, excuse me, not having a
Not
maximum
having a maximum setback.
That's what you're saying? is-
Yeah, I think homes need to be within 10 to 20 feet of one another.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion.
Mayor, did you also want to put the map here of Burn Rock in the, you want to make that part of the record since you referred to it? I know you haven't been sworn in, so.
I'm not sworn in, but yeah, I guess we could,
He swears.
it just shows that there's some that are 10 feet off, and, I mean, they step back and forth, and it's okay, 10 feet is not a big deal. I mean, a garage, you know, would change that much. But if, and I'm not saying I'm against 20 feet, I'm just saying that, I know if I was, this is my opinion, and a few people that have called and complained to me, not from inside the city limits, by the way, they're upset because somebody built and is looking in their back window, or back sliding door, and I get that. But there's no maximum setbacks out there.
Well, I think we've got two real separate issues. One is, we've got ordinances that keep us where we need to be. So the ordinance has been set with a little bit of difference. Was it center of the road, was it right of way? When they did it, it's from the right of way, it's a little bit off, so we changed it back. But I also think you've got something like you're talking about in a neighborhood where ordinances are gonna only do it for whatever that lot size is. So when our lot size and what it's zoned for, it's gonna end up with rear setbacks, side setbacks, front setbacks. And where they're talking in an acre or bigger, or just a little bit smaller, I think we've gotta marry the two. So where can we marry an ordinance that doesn't give willy-nilly, so you don't end up with two streets where, you know, you got that, the fronts are up here, and then you got 4 houses that are way back here, and then you got 2 at the end that are way up here, so your neighborhood looks weird, one way or the other. And I think that's what the mayor's been talking about. But is there a way that you can do your CCNRs inside of as much as we can possibly give you that doesn't screw it up? Because you're asking for an unlimited, let us do what we want in our neighborhood. And I get that, right? It's your property, you're selling it, you have it, and I'm gonna buy it. If I buy it, I wanna be able to do what I wanna do on my property. But I have to do it inside the parameters so that Justin and Jordan don't have issues, that the fire doesn't have issues, that the police don't have issues with it, and it looks normal, because we don't want it to look, Kim just pulled up Riverview Estates. Riverbend Estates, and.
It's weird.
Well,
It looks weird.
you got that one house on the end, and literally, they look into the backyard of that other, and then you got 2 that are way close, and then you got one that's way back at the river, that are on the pond, and so they're looking into, which I didn't know that they own half that pond. Their property goes out into the middle of that pond. So that's why they moved their houses back, but I don't think that was told to them when they bought the properties. Or if it was, they decided to build up front or whatever, but because of that.
To a maximum depth, it was just a question that I brought, I actually brought up to BJ, I said, can the city control that? It was
Yeah,
more
we
of a.
can control it with the
learning
zoning, with
thing.
the ordinance and the zoning, it's just a matter of, how do you guys, I can tell how you feel, you wanna be able to do what you wanna do on your property.
Well, I think that the reason we brought this is
Yeah.
because last time you guys met a month ago on this, it was 10 feet. And that's all we had to work with. We didn't want to do 20, we want to make sure it's 10 feet. And again, so today we're asking for 55 to 65 feet is what we're looking for approval. But just looking in consideration to move forward of looking into if it could be a 20-foot variance. Because right now that's how the ordinance is written. And I guess I just bring it up, we're just trying to figure out, partly because we have a lot of people getting ready to build. And that has been the #1 topic, why are we so far back? Even 1 acre lots we built on it, never this far back. And so that's, and we didn't notice it until, again, the permits were starting to be coming through and we were looking for the setbacks. And so,
That wants to do it too.
Or it might even be different.
Or, yeah, might want a bigger zone. Kim just brought up that RE is just this one. Maybe
It's just
somebody
this
will
one,
want
this
a
is our
different one.
first RE
Somebody
zone.
somebody else might come in and go, hey, we wanna change it and do 1.5 acre lots, right? Cause they can be bigger and
Yeah.
it'll look even different then.
So we have to be careful
And
that way.
I think we've solved the right of way to the center of the road issue, right?
it's not solved, it's
It's
just been
not
discussed.
solved, but now we know,
We understand
we
where
know where
we're
it's
at, kinda, and that, the misunderstanding on our side, and we apologize for that, we just assumed we were moving forward and being,
so Jordan,
look at the right of
I'd
way,
like
and
to ask,
that's how you guys run it up, so we don't blame you guys that way either, it was just something I wish we would've went through and actually caught that earlier,
measured it
because this
out.
would've been done a year ago instead of, here we are, we got people ready to build, and we're setting the point, and so.
BJ, can I ask Jordan to chime in or no?
Who's
On
Jordan?
public hearing,
Our
Jordan's
building
back.
inspector.
Oh, Jordan, yeah,
Our
sorry.
building permit
Of course
guy.
you
I know who Jordan is, yeah, of course you can.
And so Jordan, as you see these first few permits come in, what's the biggest issue on these smaller lots? Cause like he says, there's 7 to 8 or 10. What's the biggest issue?
I haven't seen any plans on any smaller lots yet for over there.
Do you wanna see one right here? It's kind of, it's a little vague, but at least you can see it.
The waters might have a better, they're actually.
So
house
far
building,
over there, we've got one permit has been issued.
And that's 65 feet back.
Yeah, and
And it's on the bigger lot, it's not on these smaller ones.
It's just a deeper lot.
it's a, yeah, it's in a center,
Deeper,
it's
it's
in a
not just
center
the
lot.
cut half.
It's still a half acre, but just a different.
But it looks good, like where they've got it, like when you drive down the road, like it looks good in position where it's at, like.
How far back is it?
65.
From the right of way.
65 from the right of way, so that's the edge of the sidewalk.
Just because that's what the minimum was at the time.
Right.
So in order to move forward tonight, we'd have to approve the 55 to 65, because that's what we,
Yeah.
that's a public hearing. Yes. But you're asking, after we approve that, that maybe there could be some continued talk on, maybe,
Get it back to 20 like it was before.
Yes.
Was it ever
From the
before
right of
that?
way.
it was 25 to 65.
It was 20 feet, but it
Right.
was
It
from
was
the
never
right of way.
approved.
It was never approved.
Yeah,
No, I know, that's what went through P and Z, and that's what came to us a month ago.
right.
We approved,
Yeah,
we
discuss
approved it to be,
You didn't approve it.
No.
You
set
said-
it for a hearing.
We did another hearing.
Set it for
You
this
said
year.
you wouldn't
That was
approve 20,
P&Z.
a 20
Right,
feet
right.
span.
Yeah.
Correct.
Where it stands right now is 65 to 75.
55
55, 65.
Well, right now it's currently 65.
Currently
It says
65
you're
to
proposing
75.
55.
Proposing a change. We're proposing the change to 55 to 65.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
Any more
Yeah, just-
questions?
so, yeah, anything else? Sounds like, yeah. Anything else from
No,
Darren?
no.
Mess it up.
Yeah, you did plenty good. You get up and clean it up.
Bad cop, good cop.
You can call me, I can either speak neutral or for, it doesn't matter where I.
Okay, just tell us who you
Hey.
are.
Heath
Name
Mitchell,
that.
1161 North, 1000 East Shelley.
Do you
But
do
I
you
guess-
swear or affirm that the
yes.
testimony you give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Thanks. You can go ahead.
I guess, I think sometimes we overthink a little bit, and as we think through those setbacks, I've heard us, we talk about, we reference what the city, police, fire, everybody, and I think we've all addressed that. I don't think there's any concerns that I'm aware of about the setbacks that pertain to safety or easements for utilities or anything like that. I think the only thing that we're discussing is what we think looks good. Is that, I think that's kind of where we've come to.
I wouldn't disagree with that,
Okay,
yeah.
and-
I
and
think
so-
everything else has been,
yeah.
But what's happening is we, us, are deciding that, and obviously, if you look around, people are building these that we may not think look great, but they do. And they have them either set back or set forward, and people think that's good. And obviously, the reason we're here asking for this change is because people have said, we don't want our house that far back, we want to be able to build it closer up, because that's what they want. And so I hesitate when, I get nervous when we start making decisions about what our personal preference and what we think looks good, when, who knows what other people might think looks good. And as you said, we've made this zone because we want a more country feel. And the country feel is not a uniform look when I look down and I see every house lined up exactly. That's not a country setting, right? And the 20 feet, okay, in that, if a typical house might be 50 feet deep, might be more, but it's probably gonna be at least 50 feet deep. So if house number one is at the minimum up front as far as it will be, the other one's 20 feet back, he's not gonna be looking in the backyard. If he's 20 feet back, he's still in the middle of the house, right? If he's, now granted, if he's 60 feet back, then he might be able to see into my backyard. But 20 feet, again, if this is 10 feet and we double that, and we're on a half-acre lot, so my neighbor is not from me to the wall, he's quite a ways away. But that 20-foot variance, if one house is on the minimum and one house is on the maximum, unless that house is only 20 feet deep, you're not gonna see in the backyard, right? So if we give them that option, and we're not proposing, Leif, that we wanna do whatever we want.
Right.
We're saying, let's set a minimum front and a minimum back. And let them do what they want in the middle. And there is gonna be some limits, obviously, now, to Kim's point, on half into 1 acre lots, there's gonna be some limits, because you can't go very far back before you're gonna hit your back setback, right? Now, if they get to 3 acre lots, then that could happen. So I agree that as part of this, marrying this together on the chance that somebody comes in and does a subdivision that's 5 acre lots, and you have only minimum and maximums back and rear, then that, somebody could. But again, obviously people do it, and we don't think it looks good potentially, but they do. And I don't know, I think, who are we to say, well, you can't do that because we don't think it looks good?
Well, if that was the case, then the entire town would just be hodgepodge. Because that's what planning and zoning is all about. I mean, I understand people want the right to do what they want to do on their own land. When I built my house, I built it on a cul-de-sac. It had to be set back because of the narrowness of the cul-de-sac. It had to be set back so far that it could have 10-foot side yards and meet the prescribed settings, and so did everybody else in the neighborhood. Now, if it was not the case, we could have hodgepodge homes all over the place. They look good, they're smaller, and I know when they're smaller units, you really have to have more of that control, because the smaller they are, the more conformity you need. That's what planning and zoning is all about. I was talking to a developer out of California who made a comment to me. He said, you know, developers can come in and they'll tell you what they want you to do. And you can sit and go all day long and design everything to the developer's delight. And what you'll end up having is no planning and zoning. And I know that sounds bad, because I know in Idaho we have this attitude, and I do too. I can do what I want on my land, I get off my land and quit telling me what to do. But there is some conformity that we require. And it does look good. I mean, Hall Park Estates, another place, homes set off a certain range. The county has them on most set-offs. Most homes have a set-off on a county basis. And so it does look good, unless you get some of those that are weird, that have homes all over the place. And like I said, if you had a big acreage, you have 5 acres or 6, 7 acres, I can see homes being set off differently, because you know, if you're in Kentucky where you got rolling hills and you got meandering roads, you can put a house up on the hill here. But even in those places, they have offsets. And they have zoning that shows that they have to be placed in certain places. In fact, in some of those places, they have to prove where the building envelope is. And the building envelope can't vary. In fact, you get back east in some places, they'll have literally a building envelope where the house goes, and that's it. And that's where you build your house. And so I just think we have to be careful, because if we go hodgepodge on just allowing whatever maximums, you're gonna get some weird looking stuff. But that's my personal opinion.
I don't think they're asking that.
And I would just say too, as a developer, we have no benefit. I mean, the costs we incur are the same, whether the setbacks are, so
Right.
we don't stand to gain anything. We're just simply hearing what homeowners want.
I understand.
So, I know developers get.
The only thing I really get
what's
concerned about
cheapest
is
and-
if you have a piece of property that you design where the backyard's shallow and it's wide. In those kind of cases, I think we need to address something differently. We have to look at something as a percentage offset, so it doesn't look weird. But otherwise, that's just my opinion.
And I would agree, and I guess I would just hope that there is a wide enough variance that allows people to have some choice. That in most of the subdivisions that we've talked to engineers about, they set a minimum front and a minimum back. And they don't set you have to be here or here. They say you have to be at least here off the front, and you have to be at least this off the back, or what you do in the middle is kind of up to you. Now, I understand, as we discussed, on bigger ones, that can be a problem. But a 10-foot variance on a potentially a 5-acre lot, that only 10 feet is allowed, that just seems a little very, very too restrictive for an RE zone that's designed to be country living. So.
Oh, I agree.
That's where, and again, we're not necessarily asking to say, hey, set the minimum front, set the minimum back, and let everything else, because that could be challenging, I agree, but 10 feet is just, is too restrictive for a large acreage type of subdivision like this.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor of the amendment? Is there anyone that would like to speak neutrally on the amendment? Has questions about it, anything like that, just like to discuss things? Okay. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition to the current ordinance having a minimum front setback of 65 and a maximum setback of 75 being changed to a minimum of 55 and a maximum of 65 in the residential estate zone? Anyone that wants to speak in opposition to that? Jack?
I just have a question.
Okay.
Why are they moving it here to here rather than just moving it here and leaving the 75?
I was not involved in that decision, I can't answer that. If anybody else wants to take a stab at it.
So it's a matter of, if we, this is the discussion that we're having. If we give them a minimum or a maximum, whichever way, what's the difference in between? At 20 feet difference, you can move your house back or you can move it forward. At 30 feet, it's even more, and now you're gonna end up with that. I'm looking in my neighbor's backyard, I'm looking there. So, like they're stating, should we just have a minimum front and a minimum on the back? Then you can put your house anywhere inside that you want it to. So, that would probably be the way that it does.
I think that it was set at 75, and obviously as they talked to people that were building, they realized
Too
that
far.
it was
Yeah.
too far back. And that's why they went to 65. That's why they proposed 65.
The reason it's changing is because we had the 10 feet variance that you wanted to stay within, so we're just taking that 10 to this day.
To that 10. Instead of leaving it at 20 or 25.
Because I know that building a house, I just want to be as far away from all my neighbors as possible. That's it. That's the only thing.
Derek has a lot he'll sell you. And it's inside the city.
Okay, anything else? Anyone else that again wants to speak in favor, or excuse me, in opposition to the proposed amendment? Okay. All right, is there any rebuttal that we want to have in favor of the amendment? Mr. Dye, Mr. Mitchell, anything else that you want to add? Okay. All right, then we will close the public hearing portion and deliver the matter to the council for deliberation and decision, if they want to choose tonight. The only thing I would mention, I know earlier on, there was some discussion, I can't remember if it came from the council or from the floor here, about variances. And I just want to mention, this group does not grant variances, the P&Z does. And variances aren't something where we just say, hey, we don't like this, we want you to do us a favor and not make us follow the rules. There's some pretty strict law out there that deals with variances and when that's appropriate or when it's not. So I just don't want there to be any kind of a misunderstanding or false expectation about, oh, if they do this tonight, then we'll just go get a variance. You can certainly apply for one. I'm not trying to dissuade you, but as counsel for this council, S-E-L for this C-I-L, right? And then for anyone that might be considering going back to the P&Z to request a variance, just know that that's a fairly stringent standard to get a variance. I just don't want there to be a false expectation of what that might be. So, with that commentary, hopefully helpful commentary, but other than that, turn over to the council.
Comments, questions?
Well, right now, if we make the decision to change it, it's only the 55 to the 55 to the 65. And we'd have to start this whole thing again if we want to see it more of a 20-foot, like 45 to 65, correct?
Yes, you could, well, either way, it's gonna be 10 feet, right?
No, I'm asking
It's
if
gonna
we
stay
could
right
do
there.
Want to go back to what they discussed 2 meetings ago, 45.
Right, then,
65.
yes, no, if you wanna discuss, that's what I mean, no matter what you decide yes or no tonight, it's gonna be 10 feet. If you want to discuss a 20-foot swing, then yes, you need to start that process over with the P&Z.
It would be another month, and I don't think you want to wait another month.
No, he's looking at you, you're not really supposed to. But I think but
No,
Derek,
they're trying to get some holes
But
dug out
Derek's-
there as it's getting that way. So
But
yes.
Derek, you stated your position clearly tonight, that you're supportive of this, but you want him to consider
Yes.
keep taking a look back at a wider range from the minimum to the maximum, or perhaps no maximum.
So if we redone this, Adam, you're saying it would take longer?
It'd take another
We'll
month,
take
and a
another
half,
month.
It would take another month and that would,
another month and a half, because it'd have to go out to public. Yes, we wanna change it, this is what we wanna do, send it out on the deal, it's gotta go to P and Z next month on the third, and then we would end up with it on the fourth. So it would literally take another month and a half to get it done.
and so that would stop permits.
Well, it depends if you wanna,
Depends on
if you
if
wanna
they
send
want
it back to
variance.
P and Z. You didn't send this one back to P and Z, you just chose to have the hearing
We just
yourself.
chose to do ourselves.
Right. The P and Z had recommended, if I remember right,
45 to 60.
45 to 65 feet, and at the last meeting, this
We
group
just
said
chose not to.
that seems like a pretty
20 feet was too
wide
far.
spread, so you proposed a material change to their recommendation to limit it to a 10 feet minimum maximum spread, and that's what's on the table tonight. So really, I guess if it helps give the council some guidance, the question is really, do you want to leave it as is, which is a 65 minimum, 75 maximum front setback in an RA zone? Or do you want to bring it closer by reducing that front setback to a 55-foot minimum, 65-foot maximum? That's really the question that you're being asked tonight. And then with some discussion of looking ahead to future consideration, maybe you want to change that. But tonight the question is just, you take that 10 feet and move it
Yeah.
forward.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the change from 55 minimum to 65 maximum, from the current ordinance.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we change it from down to 55 minimum, 65 maximum. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. Now we can address the next one later. So, okay.
Okay.
So now you can dig holes at 55 feet. We're gaining here, we're gaining. Okay, next on the agenda is, I'm not sure if it's Steve, if Steve's talking, okay, Steve Oler, wants a rezone on South Milton from RA to R1. So, this isn't a hearing.
That's what I'm trying to,
The P and Z already had a hearing and they recommended approval of the rezone.
Okay,
so this is, again, procedurally, you either accept the P and Z's recommendation, reject the P and Z's recommendation, or if you're gonna propose some material change to the application, then you have to set it for another hearing.
okay. So did you guys get all that? Hey, are you guys listening over there, or do I need to get my gold button
You
out?
might have to get it.
Okay, Kim, would you please move over?
No, you didn't, you moved right next to Adam, don't blame this on us.
Okay, so P and Z recommended going ahead and changing the zonings.
Right.
Part of the reason, if you look in your packets, Mr. Oler has provided a rezone statement proposal. This piece of, there's a copy of the map in there that's a triangular shaped piece of property. It's just south of 597 South Milton. This particular piece of property is zoned RA, which requires 5 acres. It's been this way for some time. I don't know when the acreage changed, but the property is less than an acre. RA needs an acre. This piece of property is 0.69 acres, so it's not a buildable lot zoned as RA.
It's like one on the corner.
So that, he's asking to change it to R1, so they can sell it and have a single-family home built on it, which the minimum area is 10,000 square feet.
I don't
I don't
have a
know,
problem with
sure,
that.
it's
Makes sense.
R1 sits around it everywhere except for their property to the other side.
Yeah. All right, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go with planning and
Accept the
zoning's
P-
approval,
Accept the P and Z
accept the P and Z's hearing and
recommendation.
A motion,
No.
recommendation.
recommendation to change the zoning on the Oler's property from RA to R1.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we accept P and Z's recommendation to rezone the older property from RA to R1. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, Chrissy.
To me, I thought it was less, sorry.
Well, okay, so we've crossed a few out.
Alright, he's not gonna be here tonight.
Yeah, he's not gonna make it tonight, so we read the amendment next time, so. So, we want some interpretation, I guess, is why we asked you to come.
Yeah,
I like the color.
we can do color.
Right. So this gives you everybody who submitted, and it's based on points. So if you look at the third column from the right, it says total staff points, 800 total. You're at 455. The last one you went in for addendum was the city of Charleston, they were at 476. So you were about 20 points lower. What it boils down to basically is that you weren't under compliance issue or order, that this was just a community need, and you're matching. So let's start with the very first gray line that says BG dollars per total, and you were at 43%. That means that the percentage of block grant dollars per the total budget. So your total budget was 1.15 million, and 500 of that came from block grant. You had 650,000 coming from the city. So your percentage was extremely high. If you look at like Aberdeen, theirs was only 5% because they've got a $10 million project. There was, the next one to you was 48%, and that was the city of Moscow. So that gave you 0 points, which hurt considerably. And quite honestly, it matters here what you're up against. You could have come in on a time when everybody else had small projects, and you would have pointed better. But we were up against some very large projects, and unfortunately, we don't know what we're up against until we submit. The second gray line is the match per total, and that's at 57%. You also got 0 points because it was so low. And that doesn't just mean city match. You guys came in with a very, very strong city match, but match total on the budget. So again, what was the big one? Aberdeen. They had 93% match because block grant was such a small portion. Rigby had 95% match because it's a $20 million project and block grant was only 5%. So again, 0 points. So on those two columns alone, you lost a total of 90 points that were possible, just because it is a small project and block grant's basically making up half of the dollars. Your next column, block grant per person, you were awarded full points because it's $114 per person, so very low. Then next is local dollars per person, and that is low simply because they're looking at total match dollars. So your 650 per your city, that's all that was in there, was just the two funding sources, and so you got 0 points on that. Eligible activities, you got 100% points. The LMI need is table-based. Your LMI is 57-ish%. So you got
52.
50.
That's 52%.
Is it 52?
Yeah, 52%.
So you got full point, you know, so you got, that
20
was the
points.
table, points. Oh, it's right there, 2 columns away. It's really hard some days. Let's see, so then the next, design professional, you got full points. Grant admin, they marked you down because there was only one proposal that came in, and that was our firm, and so there weren't any ranking sheets. I don't know how you're supposed to rank one firm, we've never ranked when it's one firm, but because only one firm came in, they marked you down.
So what does that mean?
It just means that it was pretty easy for you guys. There wasn't a lot of competitive nature for block grant administrator. I've never seen them marked down like that before.
So we get deemed points,
Because nobody, and I will tell
like
you,
8
so.
points because there was nobody else that helped us?
Yeah, let's see,
Wait.
what is that?
Wait,
Because we're being efficient.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, it's
Okay,
hard.
so I might be reading this wrong, but some of these, they're matching funds are already grants that they've gotten. They're not even putting their own money up.
Right,
We're putting our own money up.
yeah.
And they're RDA, most of them.
Yeah.
So why are they getting credit for other grants?
Because they're looking at block grant, because they're looking at block grant dollars versus total projects. So when you look at RD and DEQ, those are federal funds, and this is state block grant funds. DEQ, those are all loans, and then they do loan forgiveness at the end, so that's a loan.
Depending on
RD.
where you come in and how that
Right.
works, right?
RD does a percentage of grant to loan, and that would be in all of their applications. But they're looking at total project dollars and how much of those project dollars are being financed through block grant. So the bottom three, Grace, Wilder, and Shelley, did not get funded. Occasionally, they'll have projects that don't get funded. I don't know the last time they had this many applications come in. And that's what it comes, so that's basically what they come down to. That and the fact that you were a community need. And that would have been right before the last gray line that says LMI impact. You got 20 out of 60 points because it was a community need. You weren't under a compliance order.
So we're getting penalized because we're doing our job.
Right, and the city of Moscow gets
Yes.
60 points
Because they're
in violation.
So we're better off just to
Let it go.
let it go and then get higher points.
So the way they look at projects like this and Wilder is you're funding growth, and they don't like to fund growth. Because you're not under compliance.
So Aberdeen is getting $1.5 million and for 60 people.
Yeah, for their wastewater.
Well, these grants are only 500,000. Where'd you get 1.5?
I'm doing off the blue line here that says 1.5, well, 1.49.
That's a low, wait,
And then over here matching, it says 2,138,000. Does that make sense?
Aberdeen?
On Aberdeen was the first one, they're.
That's
American
Falls.
Falls, sorry.
You know,
And theirs is for
Mayor,
housing,
really,
it's
I mean,
not for-
it's a struggle being blunt, but you really gotta
Yeah,
say the right
I was
words.
like,
I
dude,
just
you're
saw the
like
A and I thought, oh,
close.
Aberdeen, I didn't look at that.
And theirs is for housing, correct? It says.
Yes, and I'll tell you, housing is the number one thing they'll fund.
They'll
Housing,
fund for housing, but they won't fund for.
wait a minute,
Oh, no, they will, that's their priority. is
wait a
housing.
minute, isn't housing growth?
But this is LMI
This is
housing.
LMI housing.
It's Power County.
What does LMI stand for?
Low to moderate
Low to
income.
moderate income.
Meaning that if you do, so we just did one in Driggs, we're getting ready to maybe do one in Stanley, that those units, you have to meet an income threshold. And they have to be almost rent controlled, so that people can afford them. So it's like workforce housing is what it is. So yeah, American Falls, they asked for 450,000 from block grant, and they had 1.4, almost 1.5 million of match dollars.
They had 2.134 in match.
Yeah,
dollars
so the
total.
1.4 would have been cash and in kind, and then 650 in a loan, for a total of 2.134.
And the loan's gonna get forgiven anyway.
Not necessarily, not
Not
necessarily.
for housing.
It depends on what kind of loan it is.
What
So
does SHOP stand for in the source?
Where-
SHOP? In their source? It's both in their local and in
Oh,
the
so
other.
home is home credits.
SHOP.
Shop, it's I believe they're out of Boise, so,
It's just another funding source.
it is, and it's just like the home dollar credits. Home is an acronym for a housing authority, and SHOP is, they're not a housing authority. I would liken it to like an urban renewal district.
Okay.
So no, if it's a loan, it doesn't mean it's forgiven.
Right.
Part of your DEQ loan might be forgiven, but your USDA RD loan will not be forgiven. Only, you get grants there. Army Corps of Engineers is looked at as a loan, and then it's forgiven.
Okay, so let's go to, I better read this right.
Yes.
City of Elk River.
Okay, got you.
So, that one, they have a USDA and an RDA bond.
Mhm.
So they've gotten these bonds,
Uh-huh.
so that puts them at,
That's where they get their $2.2 million.
yeah, that's where they're getting their 2.2 million.
And
So
then
they
they're
get
$1.5
500,000
million
from
in
this.
grants.
Yes, so
And
they'll
they
have
get
it.
20 points because they're only at 12% because they've already borrowed the rest of the money.
Yeah, so they went and bonded for they'll get a loan for 2.2, and then between Army Corps and RD, they've got another 1.5 coming, and then 500 from block grant. So they'll have a $2.2 million loan they have to repay.
And they'll be paying $45 a month for their water.
SHOP means self-help ownership opportunity program.
Thank you.
Self-help opportunity.
Sweat equity,
Thank you.
is that what it means?
Yeah, I guess.
Who knows?
They're all a little different, and,
I just, like the city of Rigby, there's, they came out, they're getting high marks in lots of ways across the board. Except for LMI points, they got 20 just like we did,
because that's a table.
because that just comes across.
It's a table, I'll show you.
They have to get that.
It's based on, there's no wiggle room in that at all.
So they're design proof, they got 0 points,
For what, huh?
design proof.
Professional?
Yeah,
Who did
design
Rigby?
professional, in Rigby it says 0
Oh,
points.
yeah, and that's an error. It was
Oh,
0
okay.
points, but, they were supposed to correct that. So see, this is the table that shows you the points.
Oh, okay.
So this is you guys, and they only gave you 20, and so, like Rigby, they had 0 in there, and so I told them, I'm like, you need to give them another 10 points, but it
Yeah.
wasn't enough to move you up to where you should have,
Okay.
or to get invited for an addendum.
But because they're in default on their wastewater, that's why and they have a lot of matching. Local
Rigby.
match and total match, I mean, they got $16 million to match.
Well, the whole
And
issue
2
is
million,
they're in
60
default.
grants.
So,
Right.
so they're,
Let the wheels fall off the wagon.
yeah, let the wheels fall off
Yeah,
and then
apply.
we'll give you some money. We've got that.
And
in
have your
later.
money saved up and borrow against it, because they've got lots of money to put in that project, they only got 500 grand.
Yeah, so when you guys say default, do you mean compliance order?
Yeah, the complaints were.
Okay, and by the way, Aberdeen is on here. I knew I saw
Yeah,
Aberdeen
it
on
is,
here.
but the numbers weren't adding up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, he's on the right line.
All right, so Aberdeen is the same thing. The wheels fell off the wagon, so they got funded.
Hold on a second, I gotta follow my,
Wastewater.
yes, so they were at 40, so they were at a critical need. Now I gotta look at this again and tell you which.
Where's the percentage? The LMI percentage, right? So they're 64%.
No, so their need, they got, how many
Well,
points did
she
they
said
get?
everybody put the bottom three.
The LMI percentage, right?
Oh, no, you said the wheels fell off at Aberdeen, which means that, LMI impact,
LMI impact, they got 0 points.
oh, I'm sorry, need,
Need
40.
40.
So they were at a
That'd be
potential need.
their half. And we got the same number. We got 40.
You've got,
We got 40.
oh yeah, oh wait,
Where does it show that if they're acting in response to try to bring something into compliance?
That's
the need, it's the need. So if it's a critical need, you get 80 points. If it's moderate, you get 60.
So Elk River,
Potential.
Coogan, and County.
So Winchester, Homedale, and Ashton all got
Craigmont.
high points. Even Chalice got high points.
Well, and Chalice is under compliance order.
Yeah.
And so is Rigby.
Yeah. for
I
the
didn't
water.
I didn't write the others, obviously.
Yeah, Rigby's under need, 60%.
And Ashton's under compliance.
Yeah, Ashton's under compliance too. So, and this is one of the things that we discussed with Dave on the points when we found out was why, what for? It's because we're too good. We don't overspend. We keep our system up and running. Justin and his crew do a great job at fixing when it needs to be fixed and make it work just like we did a couple of weeks ago, We never lost enough pressure, never did the wrong things. We did the right things all the way through instead of just letting it go to be under an order.
So we tried to outline several places that you weren't meeting your perm capacity and you needed to loop the lines for fire flow, but
Wasn't enough of a need.
yeah, so I put you down as a moderate need, which would have given you 60 points, and they bumped you down to potential need, 40 points.
So it's subjective.
All right, so is there a board that does this, that
So,
rates this?
so kind of, if you look at the very end, it says total staff 800 points. So the folks in Boise at Department of Commerce, they go through all of these applications, and they're the ones that give all the points. And so they read them all, and then next to that you see EAC,
Yeah,
and that's the board that the governor has appointed, that comes in for a day and they review them. And you'll see it's pretty solid, 200 all the way down to the last 3. Because Commerce says, these are the ones that we think you should fund. And it happens, it's rare that the EAC board pushes back and says, no, you know, we really think that you should fund this one or that one. I will tell you, you guys have an EAC board member that is over your region, and I reached out to him multiple times, multiple ways, and didn't get a response back.
Who is that board member?
His name is Brian. I'm gonna have to work on that. He works at Simplot down in Pocatello, so he's over your whole region. So with Chalice and Rigby, when I wrote theirs, I met with, they have separate EAC members too. I met with them and explained the process, took them on tours, because it's important that your EAC member sees your application so they can go to bat for you, but
He wouldn't call.
I couldn't get him to call me back or email me back.
Does he work for DQ on the side?
No, he works at Simplot, he only works at
Jab.
Simplot.
Chab.
yeah, he probably does.
Seriously.
He's a Simplot. So, all right,
Okay, but, well, so, I mean, that's what it comes down to is they had 22 that were gonna come in for application. And then at the last minute, they got down to 19. Because those weaker applicants waited another year. And talking to Justin, you guys couldn't wait another year.
No, he already done this 5 times and it didn't work out.
Yeah, and, you know, part of that comes from that FPS, you know, that, we had to include that in this application to see, you know, show them what you guys needed to do to fix the plants. And just talking with Commerce offline, they basically said, you know, this application looks like you're funding growth, and we don't fund growth. So, that's where we're at. You just gotta be naughty and not take care of things so well.
all right, Justin, don't fix anything for the next year. No, I'm just kidding. We want to make it keep going.
As long as you'll give me a paycheck, I won't do anything.
Yeah.
Act like you work for that other agency.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Work for a different agency.
Yeah.
okay, all
Okay.
right.
Thank
Okay,
you, Chrissy.
thank you, guys.
Appreciate
You
it.
betcha.
No, it's too cold today.
Before we leave this,
Recognized citizens from the floor. Anybody? Come right up here so the mic takes you.
Basic comments, Shelley City Council. Last year we did Tag the Town, part of Idaho Gives. I'm not sure if you remember it or not. It's where we put the billboards up along
Billboards on
Main
Main
Street.
Street.
It's all part of Idaho Gives. #1 nonprofit money-making time of the year. We chose to put up all the nonprofits we could find to try to help make them money, recognize them. We plan on doing the same thing this year. As a matter of fact, we'd like the Mayor's Youth Council to do one as well. We would just like to do the same thing this year, and we'd like to know if it needs to be an action item, or if it's just something we can do.
Is this where we put them up along the railroad tracks?
Yep.
Yeah, the graffiti boards.
Oh, okay, I thought it was all right.
That was great. That
So,
was great. Got a lot of comments on it.
yeah, I thought it was good. So, make a motion, we'll.
Was there any problems with sprinklers or anything like that?
No, I met with Jacqueline and these guys over there last year, we went and looked at sprinklers, we kind of marked out
The grass, you can see where the lines are, right, there's a little dent in each one of the grass, you can pretty much see the lines, so they just put them in between there and kind of by the trees, like it worked out really good.
I think the only complaint I heard was some of them were hard to read. They couldn't identify what group it was.
That's a thing we plan to fix this year at least.
So just because you don't understand creativity does not mean that
No, I've heard that several times, you know, they're advertising
Yeah.
the
It was too
different,
fast for what you could see.
yeah. So, that's the only thing I
I
heard,
think
but
maybe you should refer them to Rod's team, as in they drive too fast, they can't read fast enough.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town again for this year.
Yeah, I'll say that.
We'll move in second, we go ahead and approve it, all in favor? 4 in favor, all right. Yep, I thought it was good.
Great, I look forward to seeing what they do this year.
By the
Last
way,
year was a new thing.
by
This
the
year
way,
it'll be
you're not
done.
supposed to be able to read true graffiti if
That's
it's
right.
good, just
Just
saying.
supposed to catch it.
Thank you, see you guys. Old council business license, or new council business, sorry. Business licenses, we have
2, and one of them was theirs.
the
B&L Enterprises.
Ironwood Cabinets and
B&L
B&L Enterprises Consulting.
Make a motion that we approve the business licenses as constituted.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the business licenses as constituted. All in favor?
Aye.
4 in favor. Okay. Let's see, discussion on water connection fees. You want me to start? You want to start?
He's gonna start.
He's gonna start, okay.
He's gonna give us the info and I'll fill in the gaps.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
Tell us who you are.
I'm Brian Snocka from Forsgren Associates,
Okay,
and we've been tasked by the city, I guess through Justin and through this council, to examine the condition and quantity of your existing water distribution system, and look at what its cost value is to your individual residents, which in turn equates to the fee that it is required for a new resident or business coming in and paying for that service. And what we came up with is looking at the 5 wells that are, the 4 wells that are currently in operation, the 2 water tanks, and approximately 42 miles worth of pipe network. Your system is valued at about $16 million for all of that infrastructure based on its current conditions. But what that boils down to is you have roughly 17,000 existing connections, and the cost per connection based on that value is $9,510.78, which is
$9,000. Okay,
which is significant.
yeah.
But at the same time, the individual homeowners and businesses that already exist here have been paying for that. They have paid for for any infrastructure improvements through bonds and loans that come out of taxes or through other means that are required by the city. So a person coming in is paying for that privilege to use a share of that infrastructure. And paying anything less is just giving them a discount, which in turn still has to be paid by someone else to meet the deficit.
Okay.
So, do you have any questions so far?
I do not. Kids, have any questions? Okay, you told us what we wanted to know. Now Justin's got a.
Just, what did you base your connections off, Brian? How many you said, 1,700 or 1,000?
1,700.
1,700 connections. I understand that several of those connections are several of the connections are actually like mobile home parks or apartment complexes or larger businesses. But we are, from what I understand from Sandy's, those are billed at a higher rate because they represent a higher demand on the system.
More water on the system, right?
More equivalent residential units.
Yeah, so we adjusted it for those other connections within those.
An apartment should pay more because it's not just a single family home.
Yeah, so like the 54 units over there, there's 3 buildings, so they really get charged 3 bills. We send 3 bills out, but those 3 bills are to cover the whole 54 units.
Right.
So we added the 54 in there,
Right.
or an additional 51 actually.
Yeah. So, and thanks Brian for coming and doing that. And I talked to Dave today for a long time, and I know Justin, he eventually got to talk to Justin. He called me freaking out because he couldn't get hold of anybody else. It kind of freaked him out.
Who?
Dave. Because he's going on vacation. So.
He was stressed out.
He was stressed out. He wanted us to know this. So what basically this chart tells you is what's the condition of our system now, and you can see that in the service life remaining. You can see what the cost, replacement cost would be and what the current value is. And that's where it gets that $16 million number. So.
The current value is the depreciation.
The depreciated value, right.
Whereas the replacement cost column, which I don't know if all council members have this chart, but the replacement cost is based on what it would, various projects that we have worked on, what it costs to put in a well or a water tank or those water lines. And if you notice, you have several sizes of pipe that are no longer compliant with the state standards. Right. You have 2, 3, and 4-inch water lines, whereas state standards require you to have a 6-inch water line. So the replacement costs on those, which under the value per unit, shows the cost of replacing that in compliance instead of with an equal value material. Or an equal size material, I should say.
Bring it up to what, so I was talking to Dave, it's one of those, like you just stated, our $1,300 connection fee for water basically is giving it away for free. We are not getting ahead on our system, and we will never be ahead at that rate as we let people connect.
Well, I think one of the things that we need to do, particularly in regards to the pipeline that runs between firm well and well number 4, is be included in impact. For example, the development that's currently occurring in the city of Shelley, with the parks and with the other one, should have paid a portion of that upgrade of that loop system, because it's part of the water system for the city. And I think we need to identify those spots. And any development that occurs in the city needs to pay a percentage to those areas.
But that is exactly what a connection fee is.
That's what the connection fee would be. So I talked to Dave about impact fees and connection fees and how that works. Connection fees is what it is, because those of us that lived in the city for a while, right? Me and you've been here, I don't know, Kim's house is too new. Kim's house is too new, so Adam's new to the city in his house. But his house has been there a long time. We're footing the bill to cover all this, even though we've been doing it for the last 20 years. So when we get growth that comes in, when we have to do this, it needs to have an impact. And so the impact is the connection fee. We charge the correct connection fee that is stated there at $9,500 for every new line every new person that connects on.
Pass it down to Jeff.
The developers will put it in their cost. So I did some quick math today, just on Fox Crossing, 375 houses, at the connection fee for sewer and the connection fee for water, and not including anything else, you're gonna end up at, with the new 9,000 would be $22,000 is what their lot would cost them before they started adding in their building it, curb and gutter, all those other things that the cost of a lot would be.
Right.
So that's pretty cheap deal at a $375,000 house, and you're gonna get it done. So if I buy a house out there, I don't pay any extra, I'm buying their lot for $375,000 with the house on it that I get to pick and choose. Same with Derek's. Derek's saying, here's your lot, he's selling lots at a price, and then he's having somebody build the house. He's just gonna have to raise his price on his lots, $9,000.
But like, not all of the developers build the lots, and it
No,
falls
right.
upon the contractor and the property owner.
Right.
So like Fox Crossing will be different because they're building all their houses.
Yeah.
Right,
But like if you
they're
went and bought a lot in Sunset Vista,
Yeah.
and I hired John Smith as to be my contractor, I'm gonna pay those tap fees, the developers walked away from it.
Yeah. So that's where it's how do we adjust that? And I asked that couple of questions and said, what do we need to do? He says, your connection fee has to be, to cover it would be $9,000. Anything less is a discount. Going forward.
Doesn't matter if the property, whoever buys it, or the developer, as long as someone pays it.
Yeah. Whether that's the developer
So you're
pays
saying
for half of
going
that.
from 1,700 to 9?
No, 1,300 to
1,300 to
9,000.
$9,000.
And I'm saying no way in heck.
So, I
1,300
asked,
to 9,000?
I asked him that, yeah, that's got, we're only charging $1,300 for a water connection.
We are, but we
How
probably
much
should have
is-
raised it
how much
over
is
the
that
last
charge?
5 years a little bit.
How much is that charge?
It's in here. You've
If-
got a
if you got a
nice
sheet on it,
deal.
they're
1,400.
1,400, yep.
Yeah.
They're charging 1,400.
Ashton charges 2,500.
Iona, look at Iona, that was.
But Ammon
You know
charges
why?
how much a month
Why?
for water?
Because Iona has a huge growth.
Depends on
going
your lot
right now.
size.
Right, it does have huge growth going on right
They do.
now. Rexburg as well, and they charge 8,000.
Rexburg
Iona's-
charges 8,000.
Iona is
Yeah, 'cause they charge for
6,944.
So Rexburg is 1,630 plus.
6,944 in Iona.
So, once again,
And
the information that we now
Ammon
have.
has a low connection fee because they're charging some user rate fee.
Yeah, they're metering your water. And they're helping out.
Dayton, Idaho charges 20,000 plus a boarding fee.
Dayton. The city of Dayton with a post office.
They have a population of 463.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
So-
gonna say one connection doubles.
Yeah, one connection doubles their water
City of Idaho
usage.
Falls, 2,700.
So, it's.
Haley is 4,600.
So going forward, we need to come up with a rate that's gonna help us get, one, be qualified for funding, because our rate's too low, so we also would get hit on that. And we need to be able to charge appropriately going forward, that's not gonna be a hindrance to the people at home, as Jeff would say, and is gonna make it so that it's fair and equitable across.
I'm concerned about the monthly fee, I'm not concerned about the connection fee.
Right, so if you want the monthly fee to stay the same and grow organically with our system and the people that are on it, we need to charge a higher connection fee. And then our rate, we can grow the 4.9% every year that keeps us under bonding.
So the connection fee is what's gonna, because it's the
Yeah.
growth
Yeah,
is the issue.
Yes.
but that's where you would
But
end
that
up
needs to
being.
fund these loops that we need.
Right. And
That's
the
what-
pump station, so we're not having booster pumps all over the city that Justin
Right.
has to take care
We've
of.
got a well that's gonna have to go in on the north side of the city.
Fixing our 2 and 3 inch lines that are old and gonna wear out.
But we got a well that's gotta go in on
Probably
the
already
north
bad.
side of the city.
Right.
It's gonna cost you $1 million, what, $1.75 million?
Yeah,
Or current well now.
at least.
Current
Depending on
well,
how deep.
well, current well, goes for roughly 400,000. If you look at my chart on
Right
here.
here.
Okay, just
The new well
A
one,
new well,
400
the new
grand.
structure, the new pumps, the backup generator, all of that has to be accounted for. You're
That's only
looking-
400,000?
Well,
Approximately,
give or take, how deep you gotta go and how big does it have to be?
exactly.
All those other things factor in after we know what we need.
I think you're probably closer to $1 million, are you?
The city of Iona put in a new well, their own well number 5, for about 300,000. Prices have gone up since then.
Then what did we do wrong?
Right.
Ours was $900,000.
It depends on the materials you have to go through, how deep. It was about,
What was that?
how
Well,
deep it
five,
was.
is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about, Jeff? Yeah, I don't know what that come in at.
That was over $900,000, I know that.
But when we was adding everything for well number 5, we was figuring to begin with, we was figuring all of the pipeline down West Spur.
Yeah.
A new
And
transmission
to
line.
increase the size of the transmission lines. And then it came in too high, so we decided just to do just the well, and later on do the transmission lines.
That's what we were trying to get the funding for.
To finish the transmission.
Oh, okay, so me personally, I don't wanna see our monthly rates go up a little bit maybe, but our connection fees need to go up, but not $9,000, no way. Personally.
Well, I think what we need to do is not, is this, you're saying 9,000 was required to do everything?
9,000, so that connection fee is based on what your system is worth currently, based on
Right.
how old equipment is, how worn out it is, how much it's depreciated versus its replacement, cost for replacement.
Right.
And so that is the value of your system based on all the information we have.
Okay. That's kind of like what Ammon did when they went and raised their water fee. They went off that same figure, and that's what got them into.
Because they're raising their fee though. If we raise our connection over time.
Yeah,
make
because
it
all
even.
of the people in the city are funding the
Yeah,
growth.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, right?
Well, they were funding the growth, they're funding the depreciation of their entire
Of their
system.
entire system.
Because that's what they did it on.
Right.
And that's when I told the mayor that he was out of his mind. You don't listen to the engineers, no offense. When it comes to that kind of stuff.
They're the ones with the numbers though. But
I mean, I understand where you're coming from though, and we need to go in that direction, but yeah, we need to be temperate about, I think, what we absolutely need to grow and to sustain ourselves. And not necessarily take into consideration, I haven't looked at this closely, but, you know, depreciation and things of that sort. I mean, we can get a Cadillac and have a Cadillac system, but yeah, we'll pay for it if we do.
You know, we were talking about the number of houses going in and the connection fees. And when you look at a 5-year build out or a 6-year build out, whatever it may be, and you think of what are we gonna need over time, and you look at the West Spur line, you look at the booster station, you look at the other things we wanna do, you know, we have $600,000 to put toward it, we can't get a grant, but yet as those homes come in over a period of 5 years, they will bring in enough to pay for all of that stuff. They'll bring in just over $4 million based on, I think we was originally talking 6,000. At 9,000, I think it ended up being over 9 million. So, I mean, if you look at that and say, okay, all this growth that's supposed to happen in 5 years, what's that gonna do on our infrastructure? That growth should be used to pay for the infrastructure we need to upgrade.
And I agree, I just know that needs to be based on infrastructure alone and not necessarily taking into consideration our overall system and its degradation or its depreciation factor. I mean, we can do that and we can go to the 9,000 and we'll have a perfect system.
It won't be a
No,
perfect
it won't be
system.
Won't be a perfect system.
Well, it will be newer than it is now.
Well, no, once we get enough funds to pay for that stuff, because right now, we can't even get the grant to help us pay for the water line that we need.
I understand that, but
So, if we continue to only pay the $1,300, we're gonna have enough at the end of the 5 years, but we're gonna have a need right now in phase 2 of every one of these housing additions, every one of them, not including any more that might come and wanna be a part of the city of Shelley. And we're gonna have to charge whatever, because we can't afford a new booster pump every time somebody puts in a new phase. So it's only fair that we charge a higher rate as a connection fee. Now,
Well, I
$9,000 is a
agree with that.
lot, but if we get, the closer we get to $9,000, the more money we'll have when it's needed to make these changes and to keep up with the system we currently have. Because if something happens now and it goes down, where are we gonna get that money?
As a point of fact, as a point of fact, right now, as I understand it, you pay $20 a month for a water bill.
Right.
Give or take.
26.
26. Well, you've been here for what, 20 years? So that 12 for that 20 years, you have paid almost $12,000 and that money goes to maintaining this water system. You have put in your $9,000
Over time.
over time. Whereas someone else who hasn't been here that 20 years is getting that system you built, you
Today.
have helped build.
Today.
They are buying their share of that system to use.
Plus the bond you paid for back in 1992 that's been paid off. Everybody paid a portion for that bond.
So they're not, this is not being charged unfairly. It does look steep, there is sticker shock. There's no doubt about that. But the reality also is, you have a system that needs to be maintained. And as growth comes in, there needs to be a way to maintain it so that those, not only the future users can benefit from it, but those current users can enjoy what they have put their efforts into.
Because your mom and my mom can't pay $85 a
No,
month. I don't wanna pay
I
85 bucks a
understand, I
month.
understand the concept.
Nobody
I mean,
does.
We have the same thing
Yeah.
at the sewer plant,
Right.
and that's why our.
Exact same thing.
Well,
We have issues at the sewer plant?
No, we don't have issues there, no.
Not
Oh,
I can't get over the fact that Iona is charging $6,744.
And you know
Well,
what?
I
I was out in a brand new neighborhood that half the lots are already sold. And all their houses are gonna be over, the smallest house is like 8,500 square feet. And it's gonna be a really nice neighborhood, and it's right off of the road
well,
up
I
on Thunder
think, I
Ridge.
think we need to raise it. I have
It's
no
gotta be
doubt-
raised,
no
they
doubt
gotta
about
pay
that.
for that stuff.
Well, I agree
It's
we
a lot of
need to
water.
raise it, but I don't wanna raise it $9,000.
Well, then let's go at
Let's go with
8,500.
that.
Well, I'm
That was
thinking,
Dave's, that was
All right,
Dave's suggestion.
I'm
Dave said
thinking a
it's
little less than
9,000,
that.
charge 85.
$8,000.
I'm thinking a little less than that.
Think about all the people that are paying $120,000 to $150,000 for a lot that 10 years ago they paid $30,000 for. I mean, they're paying it for the property, they have to have the infrastructure in there.
So I don't think $75 to $8,500 for a connection fee is out of the norm. Businesses will still pay that.
You go to dig a
Homeowners
well,
and
you
developers
go to dig
will
a well
still
out
pay
in the
it.
county, how much you paying for a well?
12 grand, I asked a kid who's gotta have a well drilled,
12 to 15.
How much,
12 to
Jordan?
15,000.
And that's for
Yeah,
just,
12 to 15,000.
that's the
And
well.
that's the water well, that's not
That's
the
not
sewer
the
well.
pipe.
The sewer they have to put in, which a septic system's gonna be another 10 to 15,000.
No, it's gonna
No,
cost
how
you
much is septic?
8,500.
Unless you're in rate base, then it's 12,
grand, it
15.
just depends.
That's
where
the
you're at.
Depends
line
how many
put
bathrooms
around
you
it,
have,
'cause
and
they
about
got
85.
drainage feels so bad.
So you're looking, yeah, so, you know, I don't think 8,000 is too bad.
I don't think so either. And it would keep us caught up, so that when we have an issue that happened the other day, we won't have that issue for a lot of years, just like we had it then, because Justin's gonna take care of it, but our system's gonna get upgraded when it needs to get upgraded in a timely manner.
Right now, you are facing the issue with the lead joints and the galvanized pipe. You have only a few years before they're mandating it get ripped out of the ground.
Who's that?
That's the federal mandate that's coming up.
Near 2,659 feet.
So,
Yeah,
that's
you
good
know-
though, because then we can fall out of compliance, we can sit around and wait for 3 years and then get funding for it.
Right, because everybody and their dog from Salmon to Preston's gonna be under
Also
water.
chomping for all that money.
You can't tell me you can replace all that stuff, that's ridiculous.
Alright, I'm all for raising it, but I'm still on like the 8,000 personally, but.
Is this an action item that we can do tonight?
You can't raise it, you actually have to have a public hearing.
We have to have a
Thank
public
you.
hearing on it, but
Okay, good.
it's, for our information, we're gonna have a tough public hearing about it.
I don't think so, I think
I think
what
we
we
need
need to do is have
I think we
Dave come in.
we need to get on it.
We need to have Dave come in and explain it explicitly and in detail in a public hearing, and then have a vote.
So now
So that's
we've
what
got
we
the
need.
information, so we just gotta get it set to get it
Okay,
done.
when do you wanna do it?
I think we gotta do it before a bunch of permits get pulled.
Exactly.
I do too, I think sooner than
Yeah,
later.
anything that's
Exactly.
over 5, or anything over 3%, they have to have a public hearing, which is, this is way
Right.
over. So
Yeah.
we have to advertise it for 2 different times, and then we post it around town just to show good faith, we use the posting. So, let's see. So, where February's a short month, we probably not gonna be able to have the hearing
You
until
won't
the
get to
last.
go back.
Until the last one in March, and
The-
Dave's not gonna be back for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The second one in March,
But you're required, I believe, by state mandate to advertise such things for a minimum of 14 days.
So
Yeah.
March
To advertise.
22nd.
Let's do March 22nd.
Yeah, so we have to have 14 days, and it's a short February week, or
and
month.
you guys can't call in sick on that.
Isn't that,
Well, and-
isn't that spring break?
Oh, I'm not
Yes.
gonna be here, it's spring break, so
March
we can't do
22nd.
that.
He's gonna be gone.
And don't do it on
Also-
March 26th, I won't be here,
Well, we're not,
unless you don't want me here.
Jeff, we want you here. March 22nd would be.
Let's do it on the 8th.
Would be in the middle of spring break.
What?
Eighth of what?
Is it?
I don't think
We're
we
almost
can
waiting
get it
too
by the
long
8th.
for all of the building that's occurring, if you want to.
Okay, so let's do it on the 8th.
But I don't have time to
We don't have time to
publish.
post it.
I have
Not enough
14
days.
days publication time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Looks like the mayor's gonna be here on the 22nd.
The mayor,
Yep, not
the
enough
mayor
days.
is not gonna be here on the 22nd, but
Well, you're gonna.
how many days we gotta have?
We're gonna prop you up on a
I have 14
screen.
days of publication, and it doesn't get published until Friday.
I hate to say this, I don't think I'm gonna be here on the 22nd either.
11, 14, 15. Okay, so let's have it on the 10th.
You gotta have at least 3 of us.
You can do it on the 10th.
Why not?
Because it's gotta publish it on Friday, which would be the 25th of February, which means the first, the earliest we can hold the meeting would be March 11th.
Okay, so let's do it March 11th.
We're gonna be
You
here.
wanna do it on Friday?
Well, no, you're gonna, he's saying publish it on Friday.
No, we have to publish it on Friday, so we
2
can
weeks
publish it
before
on
the
the
meeting.
25th of February, the 4th of March, and have the hearing on the 11th.
You wanna do it on Friday?
Why
I'm with
not?
Sandy, you wanna have a public hearing on a Friday?
Date night?
It's not date night. Well, maybe for Kim it's date night.
Yeah, maybe it is for Kim, I
Maybe
mean,
for
you know, she's gotta go to the jazz game that night or something.
What?
You know, the rest of us don't have to get tickets.
Have a special
In
meeting.
April.
I've got,
Jazz
urban renewal meeting here, P&Z meeting there, the 16th would be the next one.
No, I'm talking the 11th.
We are?
You know, yeah, we were looking
Quiet, or
at
we
when
screwed?
after Friday,
Okay.
because we have it. Urban renewals meeting at 6 PM on the 14th, they should be done, which would be that Monday. Are you leaving before then? Is everybody leaving before the 14th? March?
No.
Well, no, isn't spring break like,
It's the 22nd, it's the 22nd through the
21st.
It's the week of March
21st through that.
so let's, okay, let me see here.
You're gonna be gone.
Okay, hang on, no, I'm not,
I could do that Monday, I might leave the 19th, so.
oh, well, the 19th is
Why
a
do you want spring
Saturday.
break?
Could we do
You don't
like
even have
March
kids in
14th?
school.
I know.
I can do March 14th, yeah.
You don't have clients, they're all gonna be
You
gone.
guys good with March 14th?
That's a Monday.
That's a Monday.
Good with the 14th.
And the
And no
only,
meeting,
the
everybody
only,
can
the only
come.
purpose would be
Public hearing.
this
Public
would be a
hearing.
special meeting for the public hearing to consider a water connection increase
Yes, and then we can cancel the meeting on the 22nd.
up to but not to exceed, we put the maximum, right? The maximum consideration would be,
No,
9,500.
well, you would have,
yeah,
so
you could do less, you could, right? You'd publish it for no more than,
yeah, up to, if we published it for
More
that,
than
yeah.
9,500.
and then you could set it anything
That's a
less than that.
recommendation by
There you
the
go.
I thought it was 9.
engineer.
The total is
95,510.
If you were to do it every 95-10, if we were to, in a perfect world.
Okay.
So you wanna have it on
Doing what the math states.
March
we would need
14th?
to do $9,510.
Yeah,
So what's your maximum gonna be?
9,500,
9,500?
because it can be under that.
So March 14th at 7:30? Can't do it at 6 because I got urban renewal in here for a hearing at 6.
7:30 is fine.
Yeah,
7:30.
what,
14th 's
for,
fine.
what time?
7:30?
She'll send us out a meeting maker on our calendars. Because she can do that on the Google.
Will Dave be here?
Dave will be back by then.
March,
Yeah, he's only got 2 weeks, he only
March
gets 2 weeks a year to
14th.
take
you
vacation.
want me here?
Whatever.
You want me here?
He has it,
We should all be.
tons banked up.
You
so.
want,
Everybody.
well, I said, you want me here. Sometimes.
On the
Yes,
hearing?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes those
He
special.
doesn't want to run the hearing, he wants you.
No, I don't care, I'm fine either way, I just don't wanna
We
be
want you-
presumptuous.
No, we want you paid,
Uh,
absolutely.
Make sure we don't make a mess.
I don't always come to the special meetings, so yeah, but no, that's fine, I can do it Monday,
You have family meeting on Sunday.
Bring the fam.
Monday the 14th.
Bring the fam, it's a learning
I was gonna say,
concept.
they can come.
At 7:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully, earlier than they'll be done. Theirs is at 6, they should be.
On Monday?
Monday the 14th. They changed it, it was gonna be the 15th at 10 a.m. and they changed it because Kurt was gonna be on to Monday the 14th at 6 p.m. So they,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they should be done.
So it will be published for, on this Friday, the 25th,
Okay,
for a meeting, a special meeting on Monday, the 14th, for public hearing to consider an increase in the water connection fees up to $9,500.
okay.
If they don't agree.
I like the dates, but I don't like them to come out.
Yeah. Well, that's a maximum.
I know. Okay, next on the agenda, now that we've covered that.
What's your next?
You're looking for what's next?
Discuss improvements to East Central Street.
Okay, this was one that Jeff asked me to put on. Jeff, this is that one that you wanted to talk about the improvements and notifying the people along Center about a potential LID.
As if we're not creating enough dust and dirt. I think that.
You wanna do an LID for the road?
No, I think I want to send out a letter to the folks, letting them know that eventually one day that's going to happen on that section of road.
How
And I
far
think
out?
It should be sent out sooner than later,
No, like, how far out could this happen? Like,
5 years.
Has to
people
be done,
could sell their homes in 5
has
years.
to be done in 5
Well, they
years.
could, but they may not, at least they're given notice.
So we're talking all of, how far out? I mean,
Well,
the
you're
new
talking
developers are
between the
doing.
Garys, you're talking between the railroad right of way and the bridge. That area right in there is home ownership that's never been LID'd, never been widened, because the city never went beyond it at that point.
We did go across the
In the 1970s, and you probably remember this, Stacy, Center Street was nothing but a two-lane pavement with the homes off to the side and a sidewalk, kind of like Milton is today. And it was in the early 1970s, they LID'd everything from the railroad tracks all the way out to the canal. And they widened the street and everybody had to pay for it. Well, at that time, they stopped there because the city didn't go beyond that. Now that development's going beyond that, and you're going to have these two developments widening the road to that same width beyond that, that section of road has got to be widened. And
You're gonna be
It's not like
literally
it's
at the
not
front
like-
doorsteps of a couple of those homes.
a couple of the homes like the
Everett.
The
Everett.
White House,
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't know how they built their garage on there, and I don't know what we're gonna do in regards to that. But I think we need to have that discussion sooner or later, and I think we just need to send them a letter. And I know it'll make some upset and mad, but I think the key is we just open it up and we have a letter sent out to them. We maybe have a sit-down discussion and say this will happen in a couple of years, and this is what you're kind of facing. I think it'd be more fair to do that than just to ignore it and all of a sudden one day wake up and have someone.
There's a tractor in
They
front
are,
of
they're in homes that they could start saving now.
Okay, so I don't disagree with that. My thing is, I don't wanna send it out at the same time that we're doing, I mean, I don't wanna hit everybody,
I don't either. Where we're doing this, I
I
think
would
we
say
should.
kick
we
it
should
down the
wait,
road a few
but
months.
we need to take
Let's do this in the summer.
We need to take the list at least to next
When
fall.
they're used to big trucks rolling down the road, let's do it in the summer.
Okay.
So I'm just saying we need to do it sooner than later.
Okay.
I wasn't anticipating this big
Okay,
issue, but
You're correct.
all right. So,
anyway.
so we're gonna, oh, I need a motion to, table the discussion with, regarding the high school and good sale. So we table.
I'll make a
until next
motion that
meeting.
we table the discussion regarding the alternative high school and the Goodsell Elementary.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we table it till our next meeting. All in favor? Or in favor?
What about Judd Young's? Do you wanna table that or see?
Do we wanna table his till next time? What did he tell you?
He said to go ahead and move it to the next one, he was
Okay,
sick.
so same thing, let's table that one.
I make a motion that we table the conversation with Jed Young about the septic till next council meeting.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we table Jed Young's till the next meeting. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. Good thing I'm doing some house cleaning here. Okay. Old council business. Draft to the, let's see, a draft to the county and landowners regarding urban renewal.
Okay, this needs to be kind of worked
Urban
on
sprawl.
grammatically, it's a little bit off.
Shooters.
But it just kind of has a general description of what I'm wanting to talk about, so I'm just gonna cover it, I'll just briefly cover it with you.
Did you put it, did we have it
What-
somewhere?
Yeah, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to write a letter like this to the county commissioners so that we can have a sit-down, roundtable discussion in public, in a public forum, about the developments occurring around Shelley. It basically starts by saying it's come to our attention that several rural properties around the city of Shelley are being developed. Those rural subdivisions, I talk about the fact that they're 1 to 1 acre sized lots that have access to regional sewer, others are 1.3 to 2.5 acres in size. I note that there's the 67 lot Cedar Estates and Stone River east of New Sweden Highway, as well as the potential development on the northwest side of 1500 north and 800 east, which is out there by the village of Woodville. And then we talk about the fact that there was a realtor that was willing to sell the Nelson property around the regional wastewater plant for small acreage home sites. Talk about the fact that there's a demand for this because of its close proximity to Idaho Falls, and that in response the city has gone and created this new RE development or subdivision that allows for those kind of homes being in the city. Because everybody's telling us there's such a big market for it, so we said, okay, as the city, we'll do this, we'll accommodate it, so we can get the stuff within city sewer and water. Then I go on to say, as the members of the city council were not opposed to people developing their land to their highest and most profitable use, our concern is that such development includes all the cost and infrastructure construction needed to accommodate such growth. That being roads, sewer, water, but particularly roads and accommodating, widening the roads so there's sufficient thoroughfares to accommodate all this growth. So it's unfair that existing property owners pay for the widening of county roads due to new county development. Such costs should be borne by the developer and installed at the time of construction of development. The city of Shelley requires any development along its arterial road to be widened and improved and accommodated with such streets. The cost of such rural development impacts the quality of our rural areas and farm ground. Allowing development along pivot corners and difficult areas to irrigate creates mini growth development. We see that a lot with a lot of homes going in certain areas. And it causes these little mini areas of growth, which is fine, but what happens is a lot of those developments don't have CC&Rs, and so you end up seeing unsightly things around those properties. Motorhomes sitting out in the middle of a field, snow machines, things of that sort. And it becomes unsightly, and it undermines the beauty of the countryside, whether it be open irrigated farmland or acreage home sites that have CC&R protected rural development, like you see with Heritage. Heritage Estates out there has pretty strict rules, and so you don't see that kind of garbage sitting out in that development. Bonneville County, I'm going to say that Bonneville County understood this, and because they did, they require a 10-acre minimum split on any property around the greater Idaho Falls area. Anything smaller than that has to be within the subdivision approved with a self-contained water and sewer system. These developments include Black Hawk Estates and Country Club Estates. Finally, urban sprawl of small acreage home lots, even though they have access to regional sewer, require a myriad of individual domestic wells which could compromise the groundwater in the given area. Perhaps the biggest concern is with small acreage development could present an urban crisis should a structure fire occur on a windy night in the fall. If there's no covenants restricting weeds on lots, a structure fire could consume several homes. And we talked about the fact that the city only has one 10,000-gallon tanker that only lasts for about 10 minutes with 2.5 hoses on a structure. If the canals are empty, it has to come back to town to fill up. You could have a serious crisis on your hands. These are issues that the county commissioners are not taking up. So I go on to say, this letter is not written as a demand for change of or indictment of failure. We do not pretend to solve all the issues that are brought forth above. However, we'd like to have an open public meeting with the county commissioners and county planning and zoning to discuss possible ways of sensible development that protects vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic, and the environment around the area. We'd love to host the meeting here in Shelley and invite the public and county directors to give input and ideas on how we may improve this area's development. We, of course, would like to invite the public to attend so that they can be informed of any ideas and thoughts. Please advise us if you're interested in such a meeting. So I need to kind of spruce it up, but I'm just wondering if you guys are interested in.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
I just think it'd be important for us to have an open meeting in a roundtable session. Nobody's accusing anybody of anything, but we just talk particularly about those points of road access, fire suppression. You know, even if each development had a fire well at the front of it, that a fire truck could go and fill up without having to come back into town, could avoid a crisis in some of those areas, particularly we have 1 acre lot
I
homes.
think we saw that in Firth, right?
Yeah, it could happen again.
Luckily, we have enough people to help get that done.
So anyway, I'll spruce that up, I'll have it ready for people to sign at the next meeting if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
All right, sounds good. Okay, next, schedule movies, titles. For movie in the park.
Yeah, so that sheet's just got like the newest trending movies, they call them. They've got hundreds of movies, like if you get on that Swank production, there's hundreds of movies on it we can get. These are just like the newest.
You just wanted the newest, other than there is the Goonies on here, you got one off
I
the
just
list.
want Clifford the Big Red Dog, that's the one.
Do you want to see that one?
Clifford the Big Red Dog, is that a cartoon?
No, well, kinda, it's
Kind of,
CGI.
part of it's animated, part of it isn't.
Kinda
So
a real
let's
big
just
red dog.
watch it and see.
CGI.
Don't sound like the magazine in it, so.
Anyway, so like I said, I could have printed off 15 sheets, but I just printed out the trending movies. If you guys want to get on the website and do some looking. Movies are, they've kind of changed the way they're doing it, so I think last year we had like somewhere around 100 to 120 people show up. So anything under 200 people, it's like between $435 and $465, depending on what movie. So we'll be a little bit under $500, you know, per movie.
Tell
Do
the
you
bros.
guys have the dates again? Written down?
We were gonna do Thursdays and
I know, but I
It
can't, I
would
don't
be
have
June
mine.
30th through July on the third Mondays and Thursdays, right?
Not
I
Mondays,
just
not
had down
Mondays.
Thursdays.
Just
Thursday, I know
Thursdays.
they're Thursdays, and it's starting on June 30th.
Yeah, but that's whatever the last Thursday.
Davey was gonna have, well, how I had the notes is 2 in June and 2 in July in case we could, unless we could get more sponsors.
Yeah,
To have
is there
people.
one in August? I thought we had,
I thought we had one in August
I
too.
think we did, I think I took my notes out from last week, so.
Did we do one at the end of June, 2 in July and 1 in August?
Yeah, something like that, I think that's exactly.
Did you
what
put
we
it in the minutes?
Yeah, but I had 2 in August and
that's
2
what we
in
told you
July.
was in one of the 80s movies.
Just June 30th, I probably
Trending
just-
movies.
Yeah, well, it was 4.
Yeah,
I
so-
think we had one.
yeah, so We were gonna do one in June, 2 in July, and 1 in August.
I think we do
Unless we have
one
more
old
in June,
and one
2
new.
July.
One old and one new.
And one in August, and then for Spud Day. That's one, quite good. And then if we get some more sponsors, we'll do maybe another one. Okay,
So if we wanna, if you guys wanna do some looking, pick some movies out, maybe next meeting we can.
Yeah.
okay, so if you guys
I'm
wanna
gonna
do
get you a
some,
list. I'm
Hey,
gonna get you a
hey,
list.
and you too,
I'm gonna get him a list.
I'm gonna start calling you D&D here in a minute, but anyway, you guys look at the list and decide what movies you want, because it doesn't, I don't know any of them, so.
What does D&D stand for?
Dumb and Dumber.
Well,
Unpolitically correct, there you
okay,
go,
so
just wanna
I-
make sure you do.
I've got a DNS too, if you want that one, so.
I prefer that one.
Okay, so you guys look them over and see which ones you would rather watch.
Yeah.
Okay, BJ, council reports.
First of all, apologies to Jordan. I was in a bit of a fog tonight. Earlier in the night, Derek was talking about one of his high school buddies at Jordan Hyam. And I was thinking, where's Jordan? I don't see Jordan. Anyway, I just had that, so anyway, I knew you were here. My apologies. The only thing that I've been kind of waiting on, I still have not heard anything from Fox Crossing Group on their development agreement.
Their lawyer hasn't sent it to you? Okay.
Nope, I have not heard anything from them.
Well, they haven't even come to Irwin yet, have they? That's what I've heard.
Nope.
Haven't came to
They're
the
from
they
NASA.
haven't submitted their improvement drawings.
Okay,
So,
well, we'll just wait and see.
anyway, yeah, we're just waiting on that. That's all.
All right, Sandy?
Okay, I do have, did you say you wanted to cancel the meeting on the 22nd?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have, Scott Reese wanted to come and talk about the Bingham County Emergency Management. They got put on the agenda for the 22nd. Let me just double check and see if she can be here on the 14th, so we may have one extra thing on there for the 14th, okay?
Was that,
What?
was that you the one that wanted them to come? No. It's good they're coming around, so we can discuss all those issues.
The other thing I had was it's not on the agenda because I just received the appraisal today, but that appraisal came back for that property over there on the John Blues Park, that a gentleman was interested in buying 30 feet. And by law, we have to get a fair market value appraisal. It came back for a 23 by 253, or sorry, 30 by 253 foot lot. It makes it 7,620 square feet. The appraisal came back at $474 per square foot, which makes it $36,118. The appraisal was $400, so that needs to be added in there. In the meantime, Mr. Rigoletti called and said, hey, did you get that back? And I said, well, I just got it back today, but the mayor and council haven't, looked at it or anything. But I told him how much it was, and he was not expecting that at all. He says, really, it was that high? He says, I didn't even pay that for the property. And I says, well, but land is really expensive now. And I explained how it was done. And he said he'd be willing to pay the $400, but he may look at other options. He may be able to get some property from his sister and see, depending on the width, he could do a private driveway, but I don't think, he won't be able to get the 30 feet. So he may have to come in and ask for some type of exception for the width of a private driveway.
Well, it's not on the agenda tonight, but, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about it, and is it like Sandy then, basically he's asking the city to pull the plug on it?
He was
Because we don't wanna spend any more time on it.
No, we're not spending any more
The only
money.
reason why we were trying to do this was to go through the process to sell it to him.
Right, yeah.
And if he's not interested, then we should probably, right?
Yep.
He was going to think about it tonight.
But
see what he could
yeah,
do.
I'm not trying to
Yeah.
cut him off, but, so yeah, maybe have him schedule it for us to come in, but we won't. That surprised me, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, it's a little high. The way you praise a property like that, he didn't do it that way. He praised it just straight across to different lots. But what you typically do is you take what's known as a larger parcel. So you take this piece of ground like this and you take all the land that Shelley owns right in that area, which is about 0.73 acre. And you praise that piece of ground and you come up with a per square foot value on that piece. And then value the take based on that per square foot value. He didn't do that, but in looking at his appraisal, he used other lots that were somewhat smaller, so they probably should have been adjusted down. It should have been $4.73, more like $4 a square foot. But someone would come in and pay $120,000 for that well site property over there as a park, as a home site. For 0.73 acre in the city, they probably would.
Yeah.
They'd pay $110,000, $120,000. Well, that works out to be about just a little less than $36,000. That works out to be about $30,000. It's a lot of money.
Okay, so let's just, we'll put it on hold till we hear back from him and if we can get the raised amount.
Anyway, that's all I have.
All right.
He'd be smarter to go through his sister's yard and take a 20-foot right away and go for a variance argument on that, because you can get a fire truck down a 20-foot right away.
All right, let's see what he decides. Michael?
Basketball has one more week left, so everything's going really good there. I've got a lot of good comments on my refs this year. A lot of people are happy with them. Soccer signups, I got those out last week, so we'll be doing soccer signups and getting that going. And last week, Sandy helped me fill out a grant application to get a grant for the tennis court remodel, pickleball courts. So thank you, Sandy, for helping me.
And did you get it turned in and it was a?
It's turned in, and they're supposed to be turned in by the end of February.
The 28th.
And we showed that it's failed already, so that we should, you know,
Yeah, it's out of compliance.
out of compliance.
Yeah, well, the tennis court is pretty much failing now, so we're pretty good on that. And that's all I have.
I think we presented it pretty good. I think we have a pretty good chance.
Good. All right.
What's
Jordan.
that grant for? How much?
It's up to $85,000.
But it's all based on, what you're supposed to look at is how to bring the people in the community together, especially those over 50 years of age.
Yes.
There it is, pickleball.
Oh, that's great.
And we get points because the mayor has been involved in the mayor's walking challenge for the last 8 years.
We put that in there too. They
Good
was
job.
willing to,
Maybe.
this year to put your 1,000 toward it.
Only if you could play bingo
Yeah.
over there.
And we said we had
We could play
40,000 to
bingo.
put toward it, so we have about half of it.
Shuffleboard.
Perfect. Okay.
It's getting deep in
Good
here.
job, Michael
Good job,
Okay.
Michael.
and Sandy.
Yeah, okay.
We collaborated.
Yeah, there you go. Jordan, you got
Sandy
anything?
lied big time.
Oh, there was one section about who, and we put it under Michael's name, you know, the whole thing like he was filling it out. There was one section about who would oversee this, how do they have qualifications, how would they handle this? And so I had to put in there, Sandy Mediasick is the city clerk who is completing this paragraph. And I did, he owes me big time when I put it there about him, but it was really good. And it was true, most of it.
All right. Jordan, you got anything?
Things are looking good on my end. I've been going through the ICCU plans, for the new location, they're looking good.
And them plans are like 3 books that are about this thick.
When do they think
So
they're
when
gonna
he says
start?
plans, they're like
Where's that?
books.
I've spent a lot of time in the office the last couple
I
of
bet,
weeks.
it's a bank, they're different plans than a house, huh?
They are very good.
They
And we're
make-
starting to
yeah,
get a few house plans and stuff coming in, I think for spring, I think we're gonna get busy. And I've been working with that Zip Flow, that software program that we're looking into. I've been working with them about the last month. We're starting to get forms built, kind of get everything up to date, some different verbiage. I got a meeting with them Friday, and we're hoping that in a couple of weeks they'll have us up and running on the permitting part, where the plans will get submitted and we'll be up and running on that part, be able to issue permits online, and then we'll start working inspections and all of that stuff into the system as we go. So that's where that's at.
Okay, good.
Be in the 20th century.
All right. Justin?
Just wanna say sorry for the little glitch a couple Sundays ago in the water system, but I also do appreciate everybody's help with getting out there and the texting and calling and everybody helping us, so.
And we never got a
No,
firm
so
answer on why.
between us and Teton Communications, there was an issue somewhere, but it's like a part on a car, it kinda goes intermittent, so it works, it doesn't work, works, doesn't work, so that's kinda where we're at. We don't know why the glitch happened. We do know what happened, everything's been resolved, it's been running flawless for the last week, knock on wood, everything's working good.
So have you got your guys rotating every hour to go check the tank?
Nope.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but like I said, I've been watching my phone about every 2 hours, even during the night, to make sure pumps are running and things are looking good, so. Anyways, yeah, like I said, I did report it to DEQs, they were really good to work with, we've got a plan. For a bad situation, it was probably the best it could have been type of deal, so.
Good. Okay.
And I guess we learned from bad experiences, and I think we learned from this experience.
Good. All right.
Anyway, so no, I do appreciate everybody's help on that. The guys have been in the work in the shop, we've done some, been going through cleaning the shop, repainting part of it. Couple of guys been doing some mechanicing on equipment, we've just about gone through all the equipment for maintenance and oil changes, stuff like that. H&K, we had a meeting yesterday. The cold weather's held them up. We had some other issues on some elevations on the other end. We finally got that resolved a week and a half ago. They've got a new set of plans. They're hoping to start digging as early as next Monday, but it might still be another week. So, and that's dependent upon as quick as Old Castle can get a few of their manhole barrels made. They're right from the very first manhole barrel, that's gotta be a new barrel. They haven't got that one produced from Old Castle yet, so. We're just waiting on that, so. Other than that, I guess things are going good. Jordan and I will be leaving on March 8th to go to Boise over for the Idaho Rural Water Conference. That gets us our water and CEUs, our water and wastewater CEUs for the year, so we'll head over Tuesday afternoon, so I won't be here for next council meeting. We got class Wednesday, Thursday, and half day Friday, so we'll be back Friday evening type of deal. So, Jason will be in charge at that point, and like I say, I'll still be in contact with phone and all that stuff, so we should be all right.
Good.
But no, other than that, things are going good, so I appreciate it.
Good. All right, thank you. Chief?
No, actually, things have been going really, really well. Jaco's doing very good at the academy. The 1109 will start on March 9th. Here in hopefully couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, we ought to be hearing from Utah on getting the canine vehicle equipped. By then, we'll start planning on getting Chad over and getting the dog. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern right now for a couple more weeks, and then everything ought to be coming together really well. So other than that, everything is really good. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Jeff?
Wanted to have an open house if we could on March 10th for Irwa, upcoming election to become a district, which is a Thursday, I believe.
It is.
Well, I hate to, I don't know, every time we have an open house, we get like 4 people show up.
We do.
If we all show up, then it'll be 1, 2,
We'll
3,
try to,
5.
we'll try to publish it out there, that probably won't help much, but.
That's not helpful.
I know we don't get a lot of people, but I just think we need to do it.
Well, could we live stream it maybe? Maybe we get some people.
We could live stream it.
If we live streamed it, at least maybe some people
We
get on.
could live stream it, and we could just have it open if we can get the Senior Citizen Center. And we could live stream it as well, to show the people what we've got out there. You know, I think it would be good to, at that point, introduce our representatives. If someone wants to file and run against one of the representatives, they have 2 days after that they can file and run.
Who's the representative?
Our representatives are going to be Brad Higley and
Craig Cutler.
Craig Cutler. You're asking me tough questions. It's really money. Sorry, I'm having a brain freeze.
You need more notes in your phone.
Yes, I do need more. Anyway, so that's our representatives. I'm really pleased with them. I think they're very qualified, and I think they would do very well on the board. But others could join if they wanted to. The race, or if they want to run, put their name on it. Anyway, I just think it's important we get it out there. We start a process, and if people don't respond, they don't respond, but at least they can say we've been diligent in doing what we're doing, so.
How about door hangers? Should we print up some door hangers and hang them out, a few days before?
Can we do
Again,
that?
well, that's what I was gonna say, what is the purpose here?
It's for the sewer
For the
district.
sewer district.
For the sewer
To get people to
districts.
go vote.
If we're, well,
Can we,
seems like we
can
looked
we
at
promote
before.
that?
Well, if I remember right from the research that we did before, you cannot advocate
Right.
one way or another on a position.
Now, this will not be an application of one way or
Right,
the
that's
other.
a-
This is just nothing more than informational.
That's what I'm saying, is if we're just encouraging people to vote for or against, I think it's probably okay.
I wouldn't even use the word vote in this meeting that we're gonna have. I would say this is what the plan is.
But,
Well, but if you're presenting the plan, isn't that implied?
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah, you know, and I guess the thing is the paper did an article and we got some feedback from people saying, well, what's the downside? You didn't present a downside. Well, the downside is you don't get good representation. I mean, I don't know what the downside is.
Well, I think-
Status quo is a pretty horrible experience.
I think the question just really is though, what is the proper role of the city in promoting the event? You know what I mean, or publishing the event. Yeah.
Okay, but me as, in my role as a member of IRWA, does that present a problem? I mean,
I think, again, if I'm just going off of memory, and I apologize, I could go back and refer to the memo.
yeah, I remember you said
But I
that,
just think
and
that
I've
we
got
can't,
it.
yeah, I just think as long as we're not, you can use whatever personal time and resources you want. The only thing we gotta be careful with is if we're using city resources. Money or in-kind goods or time, things like that, to promote anything one way or another. We've gotta be a little bit careful with that. Just a general, I don't know, depends on what you wanna do, I guess we just, what got me thinking about is, yeah, when you said door hangers, can we print up door hangers?
Yeah, I don't wanna go down that road.
Depends on what the door hangers say. Sorry, I gotta be a little black rain cloud. but-
well, I know, but if you put out a door hanger and it says, hey, vote on such and such a date, this is the
But
issue.
remember, it needs a
Remember
certain
to vote.
number of votes to pass, which is my understanding, is it has to have a certain number of votes to pass, then just asking people to go out and vote is support for the proposed change, you know what I
What's
mean?
Ammon doing?
Ammon's gonna do the same thing we are. They're gonna have a couple meetings where they just have an organizational meeting where we say, this is what is gonna be coming up as an election vote. This is what it is. This is the concept that's being presented, is that we're going from this ownership of 4 different entities who have different competing interests to an organization that's going to be represented solely by sewer, members of the sewer board. A member of the sewer board, a representative, will be considering only one thing, and that is that plant providing you with the most expensive sewer at the most effective manner. You don't have that today.
No.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not good.
And so
I'm
that's
saying we can't do what we can do.
I mean, but I don't think that's an advocating one thing or another, other than I'm just saying this is what's presented. This is coming up in a vote, in an election in May, this is what it is.
And I always have to advise you in the worst case scenario.
Right.
You know what I mean, like, what could it be construed against you, kind of a thing. But
Right.
Could you get away with it and be fine? Maybe, probably. But I can't tell you that.
I'll visit you in jail.
Yeah, Kim will visit you in jail, there we go.
That's right.
Me talking to Jeff.
We just kind of have, I have to take the conservative position on
Right.
how things are gonna go, so.
Right.
Do I think it's good and important? Absolutely. Do I think that, the city should be doing that? Probably not, but.
I don't think the city should, I'm just letting the city know that was gonna be doing it by me. Yeah. In fact, I'm just gonna have a girl from the engineering company come and explain what it all means, so.
Tell her to do it in English Reader's Digest version, not an engineering version.
She's part of their PR group, so
Okay.
she's polished, so that'll be it.
Okay,
Just wanna make you aware of it, put it on your calendar if you could.
all right. Well,
All of you have seen an extra person sitting out here in the group tonight. So I've contacted Kurt, or Kurt contacted Kim, and Kim told me to contact Kurt. And I have. We've all contacted Kurt somehow.
okay, so how much did they offer you? That's what I wanna know.
We already told him that
Just
this
a
is,
fun time.
this is a volunteer thing, so, asked Kurt to come tonight so that we could all know who he was. We need to increase our planning and zoning board. And so we've got a few names bantered around, but Kurt's the first one to throw his hat in the ring, be willing and available to serve, so wanted to make sure that we all knew who he was and that it was all good, and we'll get him a planning and zoning next month and get him helping the crew out over there to do some good things.
Well, thank you, That's a thankless job, so thank you for doing that.
Well, what's your last name, or can I ask?
Edwards.
Kurt Edwards, okay.
Or can I ask? Yeah, you can ask. And by the way, you work your way up, so Jeff's been on the planning and zoning, Leif's been on it, I've been on it.
Adam's been on it.
Adam's been on it.
I have not.
Oh, so,
I'm the one that found you, so I'm just warming this seat up for you, Kurt.
And I'll be exiting in 4 years, so you're more welcome to take this seat.
Wow, they're all getting off really quick, aren't they?
You wanted me and Dave to go do some training at some point, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Me
we
and
wanna
Dave-
get some
me and
more
you-
people
Me and
in.
you need to talk about that, and we need to get it scheduled with, I was hoping to have one other person, but we're not being able to connect.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is maybe we're not
So-
quite ready yet.
yeah.
Not quite ready yet. I think we're gonna get one more, maybe even two. I've had somebody else kind of look into and get enough of them so that they can be gone and they can still have their meetings. We can still get things moving forward. Get a little bit of diversity on there and make it work, so we're excited. Thanks for
Yeah.
kind of volunteering. We all know what that's like when you talk to Kim. So, other than that,
Vote to appoint him.
do we need to vote? Okay, then I make a motion that we appoint Kurt to the planning and zoning board.
I'll second it.
it's been
I'll
moved
third
and
it.
seconded that we
Was not-
appoint
You were just.
Kurt Edwards to the planning and zoning board. All in favor? 4 in favor.
This doesn't have to be.
You're on. Thank you.
And
Okay.
I was just gonna follow up. I took very copious notes from Dave, and I asked a lot of questions, and I even told him, I said, I'm asking some stupid questions, and he said, your questions are great. And so I was like, not feeling very good about it, but after asking the questions I asked him, which were, you know, why wouldn't we do something else? Can we do it through an impact agreement? Why won't we just raise our fees? What really is taking place? And I didn't have those numbers sitting in front of me. He just kind of spouted them off over the phone. I feel really good about that. And I don't think it's a Dave thing. I think it's, they've done their due diligence on the system. We now have an accurate number of, hey, how much pipe do we really have laid in the ground? We know that. We know where it all sits. So I think going forward with that special meeting will be a really good thing. And we should be doing it for the future of this town. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Kim?
Our Bingham County Mayor Scholarship is going to be opening up on March 16th. Michael, any of our seniors this year, I want them to put in for it.
Council, I'm sure we'll get enough kids in.
Do you know what, why don't you and me make a phone call to the school to make sure that's happening?
Let's do that this year. We'll make a date.
Okay, sooner than later.
No
It's,
matter
Shelley
what.
is going to be, I just got the email today.
Okay.
Shelley's gonna be sponsoring it. Sandy, you already got the all
Yeah, I think it's on a Thursday. I think it's the
28th
28th of April at 6 p.m.
at the Shelley High School Auditorium.
Mhm.
Mayor, did you want me still to be on that board to read all the scholarships?
Yes.
Cause it
Yes,
takes
please.
a
It takes a
long
Yes,
time.
yes, please. I think you do an awesome job.
Okay.
She does do an awesome job.
There's gonna be sponsorship letters that go out this week, so businesses in Shelley should be getting those. Spring into fling,
Spring into
spring into spring, something like that. Our city thing is moving forward. I know Kim talked to Justin about a bleacher project that we could put out there, and you gave her thumbs up for. And then did you guys have any other ideas for projects for?
As in to do around the city?
Yeah. I know we're gonna go look for elderly's yards to
So,
clean
we're
up.
talking when?
April.
April.
April 20th?
No, the
23rd or something.
23rd, so we're gonna have our pancake breakfast, and then we're gonna disperse into groups for
Okay.
between 10 and 12.
Okay.
So,
So, I'm assuming we're gonna be doing snow removal then.
It could be.
I'm hoping, because if not, we're gonna be in trouble anyway, so.
Yeah, it was cold last
Last
year.
year it was cold, it rained
Yeah.
the day before, it was cold.
So we'll see. Another thing, Michael, is it okay if we do this? If someone sponsors a child for like swimming lessons or sports or something like that? So if I want to sponsor a child, I can just make a donation to the city. Is that okay to do?
Yeah.
And
How
then
they did it in the past, I mean,
And not-for-profits, we would call it scholarshiping.
did you want to, would you donate it
You
to a specific child or to any child?
They just give us a
child.
whole bunch of money.
Okay. Any child, would that be, if we put Michael's name as a contact for that, is that okay?
It's just another way for people to help donate. So like me, I don't have a kid in swim lessons, but I want the pool to be used. I give $100 to us as what we would call in the not-for-profit world a scholarship, so that any kid can come in and have enough swim lessons that $100 would.
We can make a line item and do like swimming lessons, scholarships, and keep that income in a separate thing. And then you and Pam or whoever can decide who's going to get it, as long as we don't go over that amount, so we can have
Yeah,
a,
so
like an
But you're gonna have
expenditure
to also
revenue
help,
side.
you're gonna have to also figure out, it's probably gonna cause an issue for those two, because they're gonna have to figure out, does that person fill out a form, and then we decide on who gets the scholarship, and who does that, where does it go? Because we gotta be accountable for those monies.
Mhm.
So it's,
So my portion of it's going to be a line item in and a line item out, so I guess you guys would have to
It's gonna
decide
have to
who's
come
gonna
up
get
with-
the money.
if you guys are gonna do that, sit down and figure it out, or if you're gonna have us do it, or who else do it.
We could just present somebody who's, like, people who come in and ask to make payments or something like that. Just say, these are the four people that probably need help.
Would probably qualify for that.
Does it need to be public though, where this is public and recorded? Is that something that me and Michael could take the initiative?
It doesn't have to be public,
You
but,
Who you get the monies to, it just has to be that she keeps an account.
That she keeps
what it
an
is
account.
for.
so Michael, just sit out in front, and when people pull into,
Just asking for the money.
no, when they pull in to sign up for swimming lessons, you just see what kind of vehicle they drive, that's it.
You know, Michael's actually had a few people that needed sponsorship for recreation, and
Well, and
he-
it's for swimming, for soccer, football, basketball, anything like that.
All the above.
I mean, remember, he had a company that would say, hey, this company would say to Michael, hey, do you have any kids that are struggling to play because they don't have friends? Then they would give them the money for a particular child.
Okay.
That's how you did that in the
Right.
past a
And-
few times.
And a lot of times, they don't even want recognition. They don't want
Right.
anybody to know that they did it,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Right,
so.
okay.
so it's good.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, Adam.
I don't have anything.
Okay, well,
I'm ready to go to bed.
I'm ready to go home too, so thank you for taking care of the water problem, thanks everybody for all the hard work that you do, and we're adjourned. Let's get that out of here.
Thanks for the movie list, Justin.
Jeff is so excited. I'm gonna have my son help me do it, because he's taking movie class and.
Just
Thanks,
remember,
Kurt.
whoever picks out the movies has to attend that night.
Oh.
I had Jasmine one, this one,
What
this
did you
one, this
say?
one.
What are you saying,
Have you
Sandy?
come? No, I said, give me that.
What are you saying, Sandy?
I'm saying,
You
if
don't
you
wanna watch a
pick, you
crappy
better be
movie?
there.